We were chasing that chicken down. We couldn't even eat it after they caught it. It was too tough. I live in Edgewood. Just moved back from Oklahoma. I don't know. That's about it.
How many women were there?
Oh, a couple hundred probably.
All right, Lenny.
Oh, yeah, no, so. She Kiana in Sloan, Satlani was a central by the city. And my clan is a Tarn House, born from Mountain Cove, and my grandparents are River Edge, and my Nollies, our paternal grandparents, are one who walks around. I'm from Fort Defiance, Arizona, and I was in Wounded Knee for the whole 71 days, right from the beginning to the end. But prior to that, I was I got involved with the occupation of Alcatraz Island, 1969, 1970, and I was a college student at Colorado State University. And believe it or not, in my previous life, I was an athlete. I played baseball, and I was getting pretty good at it. And at one time, I was a prospect for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But this was 1966 to 1969. And then I heard about the American Indian movement in Denver, Colorado, so I went down to the Indian Center to see what it was all about. And then I met Vernon Balcourt, Clyde Balcourt, Wallace Black Elk, Rod Skinnendorf, people like that. In fact,
Did you meet anybody else in Denver?
Oh, yeah. I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
Don't forget.
And, you know, when I was living in Fort Collins, Colorado, I was a junior at that time, CSU. I went to, before I transferred, I went to Arizona Western College in Yuma, where I was on the baseball team. So I was living in a different world and didn't know anything really about the Indian movement, the struggle for Indian rights, until I moved to Denver, or to Fort Collins, and then I noticed there were no Indian students in Fort Collins on campus. And I met these two sisters from Pine Ridge, the Ironclad sisters. They were the only ones that were on campus. So I asked them, where's all the Indians? They said, we go down to Denver. Drive down there, it's like 65 miles away. So I started going down there every weekend. They had a powwow every Saturday night at the Indian Center. And it was all mainly Lakotas. So it was a hard adjustment because you're probably wondering how the Navajo get involved with the Lakotas, being far from Arizona. And I met some beautiful women down in Oglalas, Lakotas. They always have a soft spot in my heart. I eventually married one, and we had two boys and two girls, and I'm a grandfather. This was 39, almost 40 years ago, and I was 24 years old at that time, and I was looking at just what I saw, you know, all the things that brought back a lot of memories. Some of that stays with you. You know, it's the rest of my days, I'm sure. I used to have real flashbacks when I went to Native American church peyote ceremonies. I would pray, eat a lot of medicine. I could see all what was happening right in the fire, charcoal. And, they adopted me, the Lakotas, Oglalas, and I sundanced with them. My work today is one of my responsibilities being a spiritual advisor for Native American inmates, and also Leonard Peltier. I met Leonard in Denver, Colorado, on the streets there, Colfax Avenue. And that was in November of 1969, so that's how long I've known him, and when he was incarcerated. Marion. I tried to get him to see him because we Sundance together at Crow Dog's Paradise. That was one of the things the American Indian movement did, was the spirituality. It encouraged everybody to participate in the sweat lodge ceremonies, learn about the pipe ceremonies, and make a vow to Sundance. And Crow Dog advised that if you're going to be part of the movement, you really need to be cleansed spiritually. And the sweat lodge ceremony did that for many, many Indian people who started a movement throughout this country, throughout the whole world, as a matter of fact. Now you go to places like Holland, Germany, even South America, Panama, places like that. You got people that want to be Indian. I think that's one of the things that the movement, the Indian rights movement, the American Indian movement, brought throughout this world, was to unite indigenous people. And when people from all over the world, especially the news people, came to Wounded Knee to see what was going on, it was in the headlines every day, it was throughout the world. And the leaders, the headsmen and the chiefs, they recognized that. And they advised us to take our issues into the international arena, the United Nations. And that's what happened. The International Indian Treaty Council was formed in 1974, became the political arm of the American Indian movement. And one of the results after 30 years of going to the United Nations resulted in a Declaration of Human Rights for indigenous people, not just Indian people, but indigenous people, people from all over the world benefit from that work that was being done at the international level of the United Nations. So I'm very proud to be part of that, to be part of the American Indian movement, the struggle. And I think one of the casualties of all of that was the Indian people, the activists who were targeted by COINTELPRO. And one of our brothers, Leonard Peltier, is the direct attack on him, which resulted in him being incarcerated for 36 years now. And I try to visit him at least 3 times a year and conduct sweat lodge ceremonies for him. And I Sundance with him in Crow Dog's Paradise, Rosebud, South Dakota. We began, many of the AIM people, brothers and sisters, made a vow to Sundance, and that began in August, well actually maybe 1971, but we went out there and started dancing in August of 1973, and I danced Sundance for 24 years, and that to me is one of the most intense, hardest commitment one could make, to dance, not drink any water, eat any food for 4 days. I guarantee you will get visions. You'll see it. You see the tree breathing, the ground moving, colors coming out of the trees and all that. That's what I saw and I felt. And it's a beautiful ceremonies that they have. And I always applaud the Lakotas for spreading that throughout the world. Now you can go to, when I was in Amsterdam, Holland, I heard them say, ho-ho, all my relations, takiase. That's the result of the Lakota spreading that goodwill and sharing their spirituality with other people of colors. The 4 colors that you see in the design, you have the yellow, the white, the black, and the red. And all races are represented in that manner. You have the yellow race, the white race, the black, and the red. And it's in that circle. I think you've seen that many times. And so that's what it did for me. I've taken that experience and using it as an advocate, as a counselor for our people who are incarcerated. And it's hard work, but it's very fulfilling and very satisfying to help bring about some changes in the criminal justice system. So that's all I want to share this time. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
oh,
Thank you.
We have two allies, sort of the John Browns of Wounded Knee, that I'd like them to have a say in what it's like to have been part of that as allies to the Lakota and to the indigenous people who saw Wounded Knee as this liberating experience. So we have Bob Anderson and we have Alan Cooper. Now I know Bob Anderson ran the communications and was part of the communication network there. And Alan was in a bunker, so if the two of them would like to take a few minutes and put their experiences out, then we'll have the two brothers and then we will move on to a discussion about Leonard. Bob, would you just, I mean, the two of you need to speak together.
You're a public speaker than I am.
Professor.
You know, I think the reason Leonard is still in jail, in prison, is because we won at Wounded Knee. The struggle there, it was an affirmation of people's struggle for indigenous justice and for human rights everywhere. And so I was really proud to have taken part in it. I was living here in Albuquerque at the time I'd come back from the Vietnam War. And we had a chapter here, the Vietnam Veterans Against the War, which is one of the groups that were active in opposing imperial wars around the world, especially Vietnam. And we saw, Al and I, and some of us were here, we saw in the news one night all these APCs circling the village, and so we all just loaded up, 5 of us, I think.
Literally loaded up.
Literally loaded up and took off in the middle of the night from here, and got there, and we spent a lot of time in the village doing all kinds of things, and met a lot of people, and still been very active in the movement. And I just, I think it changed my life, I know that. I was going to go to grad school, but it took me 20 years to get back into school. It took about 5 years to get back from Wounded Knee. But it was a big event, and I'm glad of it. And I'd like to get to the part where you guys can ask questions too of us of it, because I think it was a really important time. And I think that we're back at those times now where with the Arab Spring and the Occupy Wall Street movement, what we're seeing is a coming around again of all this movement of people in the grassroots, indigenous, struggling for human rights and justice for working people. And I think this is coming around again, and I think there's a lot of lessons that we are all going to be working from as we go forward on this. And so I think we got to get Leonard out. Out of jail would be a really important part of this movement if we can keep it going. I'd just like to say, you know, the government, the system likes to promote the code talkers and people because they fought in that war, but I think, you know, they don't promote Wounded Knee people. And there's thousands of people who came through Wounded Knee while we were there. Some of us stayed for the whole time, but a lot of people came through there. And all those people are veterans of that campaign. And they should all be recognized everywhere that they are, because it was we won. That's why they don't tell this story very much, and why it doesn't get promoted, and why Leonard is in jail, is to punish us for being successful there. We took on the mightiest government in the world, and we held them at bay and actually walked away from it, most of us. So there's a lot to learn, and it can be done again. So we just got to keep going. So,
Alan, would you
Thank y'all
like
for
to
being
join
here.
in for a few minutes?